So a few days ago, I told you about a weird alien abduction story. Well, it wasn't like a full-blown abduction, but it was what she presumed to be an abduction. Well, I started digging into weird alien encounters, and I come up on this guy that was getting visited in his sleep, and that's kind of what we're going to be going over. This is pretty interesting because of all the events that go down in this, to where I'm like, this guy's either a really good storyteller or he's got some freaky stuff happening to him. Now, before we even get started, if you're into it, you can hit the like button and stuff. And if you actually enjoy this beautiful mug right here, you can consider hitting subscribe and like hitting all the little bells and whistles and stuff. Anyways, let's get into this. So to start off, this guy is from Alaska. And if you don't know, Alaska has a lot of weird history with UFOs, so much so that it's been called like the Alaskan Triangle. They just have a lot of paranormal activity going on. And it's probably because of the extreme remote wilderness. Now, some people have linked this to like test flight areas and, the remote location to test things out. But in general, people do experience a lot of odd things in Alaska. Now, this guy in particular, ever since he was a little boy, he's just been terrified of aliens. He doesn't really know why, but he said most kids were scared of the dark, and I was scared I was going to get abducted by aliens. And that's kind of odd for a small child to say, you know what, I'm scared of getting abducted by aliens. Like, that's just such a weird thing for a kid to say, but nevertheless, he was scared of him. Now, he attributes this to his later on experiences, thinking that maybe something happened to him whenever he was a child. Either way, he was pretty well terrified of him all the way until he was about 15 years old. Now, during his childhood, he would sense things like things standing at the edge of his bed, or, just he would wake up and see something kind of blur away. And he really just thought, well, it's an act of imagination, or I just had weird dreams. No big deal. Fast forward to whenever he's 24 years old, he ends up meeting a girl. They end up getting pregnant and having a little girl. Now, this is when things get really weird again. So, while she's pregnant, they start noticing a lot of weird experiences. They think that their house is haunted, such as they wake up and they feel like there's an entity standing beside the bed, and then they would see shadows moving. They'd hear noises and footsteps. They just didn't know what was going on. It freaked them out so bad, they ended up moving. They just couldn't deal with all the stress. She was having a baby. They're hearing these weird things, seeing things. It's just too much. So they end up moving. They end up having their baby. Everything's going well. The paranormal activity kind of stops, and nothing really happens for a little while. A little later on, they ended up getting a divorce, and they had 50-50 custody. He got to keep his child half the time. And then at this point, things start picking up again. He's starting to see the shadows again. He's hearing noises. He's like, I don't know what it is, but he's just like, maybe it's just I'm sleep deprived. I don't really know, but nothing bad's happening, so I'm just going to go with it. And then he gets a back injury, and things get just a little bit more odd. Now, like I said, the previous experiences he thought was some sort of dream state, and he's just kind of sticking to it. He's like, I don't want this to be aliens. I don't want this to be some weird paranormal thing that's attached to me. I'm just pretending it's all fine. So he hurts his back. Well, whenever he does this, the only way he could really sleep comfortably was in a recliner. So he set it up in front of his TV and goes to sleep, and he's still kind of waking up, hearing things. He would sense things around or whatever. He's just like, it's a dream. Well, one night he accidentally left the light on whenever he fell asleep, and now this TV in front of him has like a 360 degree view. He can see this way, he can see the reflection behind him with his TV, and whenever it's turned off, you can kind of see your reflection. Whenever he woke up, he was paralyzed, and he was looking at the TV, and he seen a 7 to 8 foot tall gray alien. He said the word gray doesn't really describe it though, because it was more of a white, but where it was so dark, it kind of looked like it was gray. But he said it was more close to just being a white, tall alien creature. Now at this point, he's like, is this sleep paralysis or what? But he kind of wakes up from fear, and he sees the alien leave. Like it just kind of takes off in a blur and disappears. And he continues having this experience. The only thing that's different from this point on, well, for the next 6 times anyways, is whenever he woke up, he didn't see the tall figure. He would see small aliens. They were like small little grays with like bobbly heads, and they were wearing these little skin tight outfits that kind of matched their skin tone. And you hear this a lot with alien entity encounters. They would have their clothing and it matched a lot to their skin, and it was always really skin tight. Now, before all these experiences, he would just have these visions and stuff like that. So it kind of worked up into this moment, and he had these visits and visitations where these little blurs they would see for like 4 years, and it would happen every 2 to 4 months. unless he was doing something like working night shift and then the aliens just wouldn't show up. Well, eventually they got tired of his schedule and they would just show up anytime except for after 4:30. Now he's figuring the reason they didn't do this is because a lot of people start waking up at 4:30, but it's still odd. And it's really odd that these occurrences really started dialing down to the 3:20 mark. Now, all this leads to his biggest experience yet. He wakes up, but it's not 3:20, it's 1:30, and he feels like he just woke up way out of their control of time. So he wakes up, but he's not paralyzed this time. He has full mobile function, and he jumps up in a frenzy. He knows something's there. He looks around, and he sees 3 little alien creatures. And at this point, he's like, I'm freaking out, and he goes walking towards one of them. He's like, I'm tired of this shit. I'm over it. I want to figure out what's going on here. Well, this is one of the short alien creatures, and he said it took off running, and you could tell that it just didn't have much neck muscle, and it kind of acted like a toddler. At least that's what it looked like. Its head was bobbling around, flopping forward, and everything else, and it was in panic mode. It took off running, tried to crawl on the couch, couldn't barely get up there. He said it looked like a toddler trying to throw its leg up over the couch. Not only that, but once it got up there, it crawled into the very corner, like an extra 3 inches away, and it was just pure terrifying. Now, he said he always thought they didn't have emotions until that point, and he realized, yeah, they can feel something because they can definitely feel terror. Now, while it was trapped in this corner, it turned around, and whenever it made eye contact, he heard a very loud buzzing snapping sound, and he said it scared him so bad he inhaled and took a deep breath and was going to scream. But he realized he couldn't, and something happened very weird to him. He lost all of his emotions. And he said what he realized is people that have absolutely zero emotions don't want to do anything. He said there's no need, no want, no will, there's nothing there. He was just completely emotionless. He went on to describe it like if somebody come in and was like murdering your mother in front of you, you wouldn't care. You would just be like observing the blade going through there or the blood trail. He said it was so odd that all these emotions were just gone. And at this point, another one of the little creatures walked over, touched him, and whenever it did, he noticed that he was waking up in his chair, and they just disappeared again. Now, what I find really interesting about all of this is the whole time he's having these experiences, every time he would see them, they would just run in a blur, and they would be out of there, or they would just disappear. But it's like whenever he woke up out of their little, like, I don't know, hypnotization zone, he could actually watch them run away. And it could be due to like maybe they were hypnotizing, so he thought they were like disappearing, but in reality they were just messing with his mind. Whatever it is, it really freaked him out, and he was pretty much over it at this point. Now, this was a whole traumatic event for him, and we're going to fast forward to a couple weeks later. He wakes up, and again, this is at 1:30 in the morning. He takes off, he's going to go to his bathroom, he's got to take a leak. Whenever he gets to his bathroom door, he feels something grab him. He's like, it was like having an oversized giant grab me and pick me up in the air a couple feet, and I woke up again. But this time I was in my bed. He said, now, I really needed to go and pee. He said, and at that moment I didn't. And I was like feeling around because he's like, I must have peed myself or something. The only thing he can come up with is he pissed himself, and the aliens are not allowed to return you unless you're in pristine condition or like you was when they found you. So he figures they had to do a little bit extra work, and it tickled him. Now, all of this is really strange. And I was like, why did he even bring up his daughter in the first place unless it just happened to kick off? Well, he said that he's having a problem, and he's noticed that she's like having these experiences. He said one night he woke up and he swears he's seen her been picked up off of the porch and floating in the air. Whenever he once again woke up in his bed, he'd go into the room and she was just laying there asleep. And he said it's really odd, but through a lot of accounts, you can see that it usually has something to do with family. It's almost like hereditary or something where it goes through generations. If everybody in your family experienced aliens beforehand, then there's a good chance you are too. So I don't know if he's getting abducted or if he's just been observed. I don't really know, but I do find it very interesting. Is it true? I don't know. But like I said, it is a very interesting story nonetheless. And it kind of makes you wonder because it starts lining up with a lot of other alien abduction or alien interaction stories. And I don't know, I just find it really neat. Let me know what you all think. What do you think about it? Is he just full of shit? Is he having like some sort of psychotic breakdown that he's been having his whole life? Or is he experiencing some sort of alien or a spiritual thing? I don't know, but like I said, I find it interesting and I figured you all would too. And I guess I'm just going to keep going down this rabbit hole because I'm super addicted to this. Anyways, let me know what y'all think. If you like the video, be sure to like it and follow me or subscribe or whatever you'd like to do. You know, it's up to you. It's fine. You do your thing. I'll do mine. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. Bye.